I am also taping here, and in this video we are going to talk about painting the neurographic painting. So my particular project is actually not done. You need to make sure that you finish all of your intersecting areas. Like right here, it's not quite done, and I've got some on the outer edges. But for the sake of demonstrating, I'm going to say we're close enough I can show you how to move into the painting part of this. Okay? If you are currently in my class, make sure you have everything put down out of your hands and your eyes are up here. So for painting, we need a paintbrush, we need a paper towel, and we need a set of paints. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is cleaning your paints. Okay? These are actually in pretty good shape. I'm not real worried about this stuff right now. Okay, if you wanted to mix some paints, we could clean these off. And the easiest way to clean these off is to basically just take some water and with your paintbrush clean them. Okay, now each table, will you get me a water cup over by the pink sink, please? Each table is going to be at a particular side of the room, and as I mentioned to the class that's currently in here, if you are at the red table, the yellow table, the blue table, and the orange, you're going to be using the east wall. The east wall has the pink sinks and the blue sinks. Thank you. If you are at the black table, pink table, green table, or violet, you are using the south wall, and the south wall has the orange and green sinks. If you're saying, what is she talking about, what sinks that are colored? I'm talking about the back wall, okay? You'll notice the south wall has orange and green for its back wall. So that is for, again, black table, pink table, green table, and purple. Okay, so again, the best way, let's move into cleaning these again. If I want to clean this palette because I want to mix some colors or it's just driving me nuts, again, just apply some paint, or excuse me, water, not paint, and then use your paper towel to just wipe it. Comes out really clean, pretty easily, just like that. Same thing applies for when we're cleaning our paints. Like this orange right here, it's kind of dirty, so the best way to clean this is just to use my brush. I'm not going to dab this with paper towel because I would actually waste a whole lot of paint. So again, I'm just going to dab my paintbrush, and I'm just going to absorb some of that paint, that dirty paint, from my brush and wipe it in my paper towel. And it's starting to come clean. Now, one of the biggest beliefs people have is that when a paint starts to get like low, like this blue one, that it's done. We just can't use it. And that is definitely not true. There is a ton of paint in this blue. On the camera, I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's just hardly anything in there, or at least it seems like it. But that could go a long ways. All right. Now, if this were completely empty, then you can say, Ms. True, can I get a new orange or blue or whatever color? And absolutely, I will get you some. But at this point, that blue, we're going to use it for a while yet and get as much life out of it as we can. So I got that orange quite a bit better. It could definitely use a little bit more work, but I think for now we'll just leave it. And again, like this yellow, it's got just a little bit of a green in it, but I'm just going to clean it off, dab it on my paper towel like this, and that's how we clean it. Okay, so for our painting, we are going to be using different techniques of painting, and I'm really going to leave it up to you guys. This is one of the few times where I say, hey, have fun, enjoy it. All right, I'm not going to tell you have to use 3 blues, 3 yellows, or any of that. I will tell you that watercolor is meant to be a very light painting. In other words, you don't make it so thick that it's like looks just as dark as the paint that's in our container. It's meant to be much lighter than that. Okay? So one of the best ways to use watercolor is to get the paper wet first. All right? And this particular shape right here happens to be done. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one. I'm going to get it wet. Now, does anybody have an idea of why we would get the paper wet first? And we're using watercolor paper for the reason that we can get it pretty wet. Yes, ma'am? Very good. For those of you that are watching this video, she said because when you put some paint on it, it will spread out. Now, if I did not get this wet, it would still work. It's just the paint absorbs automatically into the paper. But now that I have put some water down, I can move this paint around a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and take some blue, And I want to just put it in the corner here and see what happens. Ooh. See, I had a kid last quarter who just spent quite a bit of time just dabbing colors in. I want you to try that, but for the first time, let's just see what we can do for making maybe a solid area of a color. That means I'm just going to kind of gently move this around. And this is meant to be a very mindfulness project where we're just kind of thinking about that one thing that's giving us a struggle. And we're not worrying about being perfect, but we're saying, hey, I know this is watercolor and it's meant to be a very light painting. I did pretty good on that as far as making it all one solid color, so I think I'll stop with that one. I want you to also consider trying a technique where we go from dark to light. So over here, I'm going to get it wet again. Oh, by the way, I did not paint this one right now because I want this to dry a little bit. Just in case my brush slips, I don't want paint running into one another. I could use blue if we wanted to, but I'm going to go ahead and pick a different color since we're not limited on what we can do and use. So I dabbed green. I've got a decent amount of green here, hopefully not too much. And I'm just going to put some green over here on this side. Okay. I like the fact that it's really dark on this one side. Now I'm going to take just a little bit of the green out of my paintbrush. I probably shouldn't have grabbed quite as much. And I'm going to just kind of blend this till it gets a little bit lighter. Ooh, I really got light. And then I'm going to try a little bit of, this is what we talk about gradated, where it goes from dark to light. Now I'm going to try a little bit of yellow over on this side and see if I can get these two colors to blend. Now notice that yellow just started to move all on its own. Okay, so this is another thing to try, is maybe mixing a few colors by letting the water do that. All right, another thing, and I'm almost done. You guys are saying, let us paint. I'm going to get it wet again. And I'm going to try just a little fun thing of saying, okay, what happens if I just put blots of color? Notice how they are spreading on their own. And maybe I'm going to mix some colors just by doing this. I can get a reddish orange. And it's kind of textural. See how that looks like texture? The wetter you get it, the more it bleeds and blends and runs. The drier it is, the more the paint will just kind of stay in an area. Like if I want this red to be a little bit less blending, I can just let it dry for just a moment. And I kind of like the textural approach. Does that make sense? Okay, a couple do's and don'ts when it comes to paintbrushes. You can wash them under the sink, but I will tell you at some point you may have to change your water, and the best way to clean these is usually just in the water container. All right, now, if you need to, if it's really dirty, you may have to wash it in the sink. So in the sink, what we do is we have some running water, and while the water is running, we do this in our hand. We just run it in a circle, and that's how we wash it, is in our hand. You could see too, oh, I think that was actually my hand was dirty. That's pretty bad, isn't it? Okay, never mind. Anyway, here's a do and a don't. You can pinch the bristles like this, but you are not to twist them. I can't even demonstrate it. It just like breaks my heart. All right, but you can't twist it, and you can't pull the bristles. I have seen students before, they're like talking to me, and they all of a sudden they start pulling the bristles like this. Please don't do that. I know you want to get them dry, and the best way to do that is to just pinch off the bristles just gently, ever so gently. I wouldn't even need a paper towel. If it's wet, I could just do this. I could just pinch it like that, and it's pretty dry. Now, if you ever need to check your brush to make sure it's clean, just swipe it on the back of your hand, and that's pretty clean. Does that make sense? At the end of class, remember, I'm collecting your brushes. You are going to keep your paints for the next couple of days until you're done. Each of the sinks has a Chobani. I think it's Chobani at each. It looks like it. You are going to dump your water cup, and then you are going to just put this inside the Chobani container. So we're going to have a whole stack of little water cups inside the Chobani containers. All right? But make sure you dump it. You don't have to worry about washing it out. And then I will collect your brushes. So, that being said, do you guys and gals have any questions? All right, I'm going to send you up while I'm trying to get this